The turn of events last year had a severe impact on the country's exports, with major product categories registering a negative growth. While December showed a better pickup than previous months, exporters are of the view that taking stock of the challenges constraining the sector will become even more crucial now. To know more on what can be the way forward for India's exports to gather momentum, we have with us Ajay Sahai, Director General and CEO, Federation of Indian Export Organizations. Welcome, Ajay, and thank you for talking to ET Rise.
Thank you.
So, firstly, the trends last year have shown clearly that except September, all other months witnessed a dip in exports. Now, in 2021, how soon do you see this trend to be reversed?
In fact, if you are looking into the global trade figure, I think from the third quarter itself, we are seeing sign of improvement. In the second quarter, global trade contracted by around 19%. In the third quarter, it has been brought down to just 4.5%. In the fourth quarter, we are expecting a 3% decline only. So overall, the growth prospect for the global trade now stands at around minus 7%. This is much better than the WTO initial estimate, which put the contraction between 13 to 32%.
And of course, container shortage has added to the range of issues for exporters at this time, and freight rates have seen a sharp surge and have impacted margins. So, what do you feel can be the corrective course of action here? And also, can exporters plan their shipments in a way that makes them incur less losses in this scenario?
As a long road map, I think we should also look into the container manufacturing. Today, this container manufacturing is totally dominated by China, which contribute to over 90% of the total container production, and that also increases the cost of container in India by around 40%. It is good thing that the lead has been taken and government is looking into manufacturing container in Bhavnagar. Some stakeholder consultation has taken place, and I'm pretty sure if that can be accelerated, it can resolve the problem of container shortage in India for long terms to come. As a long term measure, I think India should also look into developing an international shipping line of its own. Every year, we are remitting around $65 billion as transport services outward remittance, and most of that is in the form of freight. Unfortunately, Shipping Corporation of India is not having much stake in that. So now, since the we are seeing that private players are entering into the field, if the large companies can enter in the shipping field, of course, they will require some kind of fiscal support, some kind of tax concession, but helping them at this point of time will go a long way, and it will save very formal pressures for an exchange of around $60 billion plus for the country. Many of the exporters, if they are in position to go for FOB contract, they will go for FOB contract so that the freight cost is not borne for that. But you all of a sudden cannot just change your terms of contract. To our exporter also, we are saying that please you plan your shipment much in advance. When you are booking the shipment, look into what is the capacity of the shipping line to provide the containers well in time. And you should also plan, when we have been given to understand that if exporter plan for 3 to 4 weeks, the shipping companies are in much better situation to bring even the empty containers, let us say from Middle East to India. And the good thing is that Indian Railways has taken the lead, and they are now providing free movement of container from the main ports to the hinterland or to the ICDs in the country.
Schemes such as ROTTEP, NIRVIC, they all can play a part in enhancing credit availability for the sector, which has also been a challenge. In what way can these schemes help give an edge to exporters during this time?
In fact, ROTTEP scheme is, I think, most timely scheme given the scenario that India, after losing the special and differential treatment by breaching the $1,000 per capita GNP limit, was not having the luxury or the affordability with the schemes which are not strictly falling within the definition of anti-subsidy under the agreement of subsidies and countervailing measures. But WTO do allow you to provide all kind of refund on the indirect taxes. The ROTTEP scheme is basically attempting them. It has covered all the taxes which have not been brought into the GST. It also looks into the embedded taxes, also look into the transportation of exports goods where fuel is being used in transportation and a tax on the fuel remain unrefunded to that. So I think it's a very good scheme which will go a long way in supporting the export sector. The scheme has not yet been formalized. We would request the government to roll out the scheme very quickly, and also the rates, because in absence of the rate, it is very difficult for export sector to finalize their contract. And I think the NIRVIC scheme, which will increase the coverage of the bank in case of default from 60% at present to 90%, will provide the necessary cushion to the bank to lend to the export sector. We know that banks are extremely cautious at this point of time. And when a sector is not doing well, they are little extra cautious. And we all know that exports have not done very well in the recent past. And that's why the scheme of the nature of NIRVI will go a long way to providing the necessary comfort to the bank to the lend to the export sector.
Exports are seen as a significant enabler to drive economic growth, and export-led growth is imperative when we speak of recovery. In this context, which sectors do you think offer potential for higher exports in the post-COVID period?
No, in fact, if you're looking into the sector, we all know that Indian pharmaceutical sectors has done exceedingly well. So is the medical and diagnostic equipment, technical textile, particularly the personal protection equipment. But we are also doing very well in food processing sector, even in some of the raw materials like plastics, chemicals, and iron and steel. We have done very well, but I'm looking into the value-added exports from India. One of the reasons why India has not done so well in the field of export is the fact that we have not aligned our exports with the major imports happening globally. One third of the global imports is accounted by electrical and electronics and automobile sector along with machinery. In this segment, our share is just 0.8%. And I think we should look into doubling our share in this segment very closely. The good thing is that government has rolled out the productively linked incentive scheme for all the three sectors. And if we build the necessary capability, we will not only be increasing our exports, but we'll be saving around $100 billion export, which is happening in the sector.
If we look a little further off, how do you see 2021 shaping up for the country's exports? Like, which product categories of exports do you foresee as doing better, and which ones do you feel will see a slow pickup in this year?
No, in fact, 2021, I think, has started on a good note. The figure which has been released for the first week of the year also shows a very positive trend in exports. And I'm pretty sure this is something which will continue for times to come. We are not seeing much lockdown happening anywhere. And now industry is in the process of completely opening up. So from that perspective, I think all the sectors will do well. But I will also say that let us not go into the value of the product, because at this point of time, we are seeing commodity and metal prices moving upwards significantly. So we should also focus on the volumes of exports, because that is, I think, in the given scenario, will be a better barometer of things to come. If we are looking into the exports and now targeting a $1 trillion of exports, it is imperative that we put focus on R&D, because R&D is not only important for going for a value-added products into the country, but I think it changes the entire profile of exports. Unfortunately, the R&D spending is not too much in the country. We are spending between 0.6 to 0.7% of the GDP on R&D. The leading countries like Israel, South Korea, they are spending close to 4% plus on R&D, and so are the other countries. So in the budget, I would urge the government to look into increasing the tax deduction for R&D.
Right, and we hope that 2021 is a good year for exports and it goes all well. Thank you so much, Ajay, for talking to us, and thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Neha.